Welcome to Toyota Time with Timmy the Toolman and Sean. Today we are going to install some really cool retrofit headlights from TEQ Customs. They're in Raleigh, North Carolina. When I was down in North Carolina with my buddy Ton and we were filming at East Coast Gear Supply, we had a little impromptu party there inspired by Jamie O'Brien, who introduced me to the owner, Hunter, and the manager of the operation, Miles, and we developed a relationship with them, starting with getting a Sherpa roof rack for Ton's GX470. And then we learned that they do nice retrofit headlights, and now we're going to install some of these sweet retrofit headlights on my 3rd Gen 4Runner and on one of Sean's 3rd Gen 4Runners. These headlights are totally customizable to the way you want them. There's tons of options. The options you can get with these headlights include a custom shroud color. You can go with basic chrome or black, or you can color match. You can choose your projector type, whether it's a TEQ Customs by LED or a Morimoto one. You can choose your shroud style. You can choose to get halos. You can get demon eyes and choose the color of demon eye you want. And as you can see here, you can get a custom etching. I got the TEQ logo that Sean designed etched into the lenses. You can also get the RGBW color changing function. You could also add corner lights if you want to get custom corner lights also. So as you can see, there's lots of options you can do to customize the headlights to your liking. With the headlights we got almost every single option possible, with the exception of getting the corner lights. And Sean is gonna design his own custom corner lights for the both of us, so we didn't go with that option. They don't just make custom retrofit headlights for 3rd Gen 4Runners. They make them for a lot of different Toyota truck and SUV models and Lexus, so you just have to go to their website and check it out. If you're in the Raleigh, North Carolina area, TEQ Customs doesn't just do headlights. They do much more. They do a lot of suspension work for people. They do custom bumper installs for people. They install roof racks. They install rooftop tents. They do some custom welding for people to weld on reinforcements and different things of that nature. If you're in need of that type of work, or you have some type of work but you want somebody good to do it, give them a call and see if they can help you out. But all those things I mentioned, I know they definitely do, and they do a lot of it, and they're really good at it. If you're familiar with our channel, you know we did an install for BX Built retrofits on our buddy Ton's GX470. And if you're familiar with the whole saga with BX Built, they eventually went out of business and they screwed over a whole bunch of people. People did not get their headlights, and BX Built kept the money. If our video actually inspired you to buy BX Built headlights and you got screwed over by them, we apologize, but we don't have a crystal ball. We didn't know this was going to happen with this company. So we do apologize, but one thing that we wanted to impart to you is that TEQ Customs is doing a solid for all those people that got screwed over by BX Built. If you could show them an invoice of buying from BX Built and you didn't get your headlights, they will give you a discount on a set of their headlights. They're basically righting the wrongs of BX Built, and that's pretty cool of TEQ Customs to do that. They didn't have to do that, but they feel bad that so many people got screwed over by BX Built and they wanted to help out. So if you were one of the unfortunate people that got screwed over by BX Built, give TEQ Customs a call and see what they can do for you. With all that said, we're gonna get out to the truck and we're gonna get started with installing these cool custom retrofits. The first thing we're gonna do is remove the battery, because it's gonna give us more access to get to the connector for the headlight. Also, you are gonna be disconnecting electrical connectors, and it's always good practice to disconnect the battery anyways. I'm going to remove the negative terminal first with the 10mm socket and my 1/4" ratchet. And then I'll disconnect the positive. I'm going to disconnect the battery strap. There's a 12mm bolt right here that hooks to the body. I'm going to zip it out with my long reach Milwaukee ratchet. There's a J-hook that hooks into the body, so I'm just going to lift up and see if I can fish that J-hook out. And you can see the J-hook right there. and I'll lift the battery out. I'm also going to remove the radiator reservoir because that's going to be in our way a little bit. Just got to pull it upward to free it of a clamp. And then I'm just going to put this somewhere where I don't lose my coolant because all this coolant's good. On the passenger side, we are going to get a couple other things out of the way too. We're going to get the air box out of the way. And because I have this Scarab window washer relocation kit, the reservoir is right here, a little bit in the way of us going to be running wires and stuff. So I'm going to get this out of the way a little bit also. The air box is held down with 3 12mm bolts. There's one right here, and then there's a couple other ones. One down in this well right here, and then one right here. Before I remove those bolts, I'm going to disconnect the mass airflow sensor. It's right here. Okay, that's disconnected. I'm going to loosen this clamp right here that connects the air box to the air tube. It's a 10mm. This one that I just took out behind the headlight has a special sleeve to it. And then the last one back here also has that same type of special sleeve. Normally, after getting the 3 bolts out, disconnecting the air tube from the air box, you should be able to lift this out. But because I have a snorkel, I have a big hose clamp connecting up the snorkel to the air box right here. So I'm going to use a 7mm socket and loosen that big hose clamp. And then now I should be able to start wiggling this thing out. Oh, I forgot one other thing. I got a hose right here that I have to disconnect. This just goes over to the evap canister. So I finally have it free from the rubber tube that leads to the snorkel. I get this sucker out. And you can see the rubber tube that I was fighting a little bit. Now I'm going to take out this other bolt to disconnect the Scarab reservoir, and then I'm just going to flop it down out of the way. Now we're going to remove the front grille. It's held on by several clips. Pretty sure there's 7. To remove these clips, you have to get in there with some type of tool. A flat blade screwdriver is a good one. And you push that little black clip down to where it aligns with a slot. And then you could pull back on the grill and you could free the clip. So you just come in here, push it down, and then pull back a little bit. And there's the grill. Once you get the grill disconnected from the body, you're going to want to take the clips out and reinstall them back into the grill. It makes it easier to get the grill back in. All you do is you twist these and pull it out. And you might find one or more break on you, and you could get these from Toyota if you end up breaking one. Now we're going to get the corner light disconnected. There is a JIS screw right here. Once you have the screw out, you have to pull the corner light forward to release it. So I'm going to get in here with the plastic trim removal tool to hook it and be able to pull out. Whoa. Okay. Takes a little bit of force. So a trim removal tool is your friend. You have the electrical connector here. I'm going to squeeze it and pull it free. You could also just twist the bulb and get it out that way too. We're going to remove this body trim piece underneath the headlight. Don't know what the technical term is. Let's call it a chingadera or dumaflachi, whatchamacallit. 10mm bolt right here. To finally get this free, on this end, there's a clip right here, and I got in there with a big screwdriver and I pushed this tab in to where I can free the trim piece. So you just have to push that inboard a little bit and you can get it out. Now I'm going to disconnect the electrical connector to the headlight. I'm just going to grab onto it and pull backwards. Now we're going to disconnect the fasteners that hold the headlight to the body. On the outside of the headlight, there's 2 nuts, 10mm. On the inside, there's 2 bolts. One there and one down there. And here's our headlight assembly out. We did a test fit of the headlights, and double check that everything is working as it should. And the wiring that you have with your headlights depends on the options that you got. If you just have a basic headlight, you're going to have this controller, and it's going to have a positive wire, the red wire coming out of it with the inline fuse, and you're going to have to hook this up to positive power. An obvious choice is the positive connection to the battery. You have a negative connection that you have to ground somewhere, wherever you want. A good spot is on the body here, where I've grounded other things right here. This plug on the driver's side is going to hook up to your original H4 female connector for the headlight. And then this male plug on this main harness is going to connect up to this female connector that runs to the headlight. You can see this connection right here. It has two little micro connectors right here running to the back of the headlight. A final connection running out of this controller box is this connection right here, and this is for the high beams. So this is just an easy connector. You just snap it together. On the other headlight, you're going to have the same connector, and it's going to be coming out of this harness connection that runs over to the passenger side. The only thing that the passenger side harness is not going to have is this H4 connector that connects up to the OEM wiring harness. On the passenger side, you're just going to have that female plug not being used, and you just zip tie it out of the way, or maybe tape it up so no corrosion gets into there. If you ever wanted to go back to stock headlights, that connector would be clean. And if you didn't have the RGB controller for halos or demon eyes, then that would be the extent of the wiring. But if you have this RGB controller, this is what it looks like. It has 4 wires coming out of one side, and we'll explain what those do in a little bit. You have 2 wires coming out of the other side. One goes to the driver's side light, the other goes to the passenger side light. This RGB controller is controlling 2 accessories for us. We have the demon eye function, and we have the halo function. So it goes to a connector, and then it splits off to 2 different connectors that are going to control those 2 accessories, demon eye and halo. And then you can see the other one is much longer, and it's so it could reach all the way over to the passenger side and splits off again to the 2 different accessories, demon eye and halo. For these 4 wires that come out of the one side of the controller, the red and black are positive for the red, negative for the black. These yellow wires connect up to the wiring for the turn signals. So when you turn your turn signal on, not only is your turn signal going to blink, but your halo is going to blink also. These yellow wires need to hook up to the positive wire of each turn signal circuit. The turn signal circuit is a simple 2-wire circuit. One has positive power and the other one is a ground wire. On a 3rd generation 4Runner, the one that's carrying positive power is the green wire with the black stripe. You could also double check what I'm telling you by using a test light. You disconnect the connector from the light bulb of the turn signal. You put your test light into one of the connectors and you turn the turn signal on. If it lights up, that is positive power. If it doesn't light up, that means it's negative. So using a test light is an easy way to confirm which wire has positive power. And the way you connect to them is going to be up to you. You can do one of those spike connections that just pierce the wire, or you can clip the wire and solder it, or you can use a butt connector. There's multiple ways you can do it. So you just have to choose the way you want to do it. You're going to have to get your own wire to make the reach, to reach the wiring for the driver's side turn signal, and then to go all the way over to the passenger side to reach the other one. So you just gotta have to buy some wire at a hardware store or wherever you want online. When you operate your turn signals and you realize that they're switched, for instance, you turn the left turn signal on and the right turn signal works, then all you gotta do is switch these connectors. You would just disconnect these 2 and swap them, and then your turn signals will operate correctly. So we're going to get all the wiring done, and we'll show you the route we ran the wires after we finish. For the turn signal splicing, this is an example of what we're talking about. I cut this black wire, I put the yellow wire that's going to run back to the RGB controller yellow wire, and I put them in one side of the butt connector, I crimped it, and then I connected the other side to my aftermarket turn signal light that goes in my CBI bumper. And then these are a shrink type of butt connector, so I used a heat gun to shrink the butt connector around the wire, and it makes it a lot more weatherproof than if you just use regular butt connectors. You could achieve the same thing by soldering and putting shrink tubing over it, or you could use a regular butt connector and put shrink tubing over it, whatever way you want to do it. On my rig, this black wire is carrying the positive power. When I installed the CBI bumper, I wired in a connector so I can disconnect the turn signal if I ever wanted to remove my bumper. The black wire runs to that green wire with the black stripe carrying positive power from the OEM harness on the rig. So don't let the color of this wire throw you. If you don't have an aftermarket setup like I do, just know that the wire you need to splice into is the green wire with the black stripe. We completed all the wiring, and now we're gonna do our best to explain a few things. This is the power cable that runs to the control box for the headlights. I had to extend it because I wanted it to route around the battery and do this run. So I used a shrink butt connector and I extended the wire. For the negative connection for the controller, I didn't have to extend it. It ran right to here to the body where I have a bunch of other grounds running. For the power to the RGB controller, I also had to extend those wires, this red and black one, and I ran it to my aux beam switch panel. And when I want to control the RGB color, I just have to turn on this switch and then I have power to that controller. Or you can run the wires through the firewall to a switch. It's up to you how you do that. For the yellow wires that are running from the RGB control box, we ran them right through this hole in the body to the outside of the battery, and then one of them runs to the left turn signal wires and the other one runs over to the passenger one. So you can see this yellow wire running to the driver's side turn signal, and I butt spliced it back there. The other yellow wire, I just put in some split wire loom, ran behind the transmission cooler, and then ran all the way over to the passenger side turn signal. All the other wires run through the body right here, the same path that I use for transmission cooler lines and other wires for my winch and for my aftermarket lights on my bumper. They all went through the body here. Again, run behind the transmission cooler, behind the core support, and then they run through the body right through here in a similar hole right near the AC receiver dryer. And then they just pop out here on the back side. So that's how I ran the wires on my truck. Now let's go over to Sean's and he'll show you how he ran his.
So my setup's really not that much different than Timmy's. The only difference is our lens etching is different. And so I did the same thing with assigning the RGB to one of the banks on my aux beam 6-gang switch panel. And so one of the positive wires is just heading into my box right here. Timmy has a different box since he has an 8-gang panel, and so the fuse blocks look a little bit different. But just like him, I had to extend the power a little bit, so it's there hooked up on the top. I added a little bit of braiding, and I also took advantage of this spot for the ground. Just like Timmy, I have quite a lot of grounds running there. And then if we kind of follow the wiring here, I didn't go in front of the grill like he did and add a bunch of wire loom. I actually snuck it right in this area right here. So you can kind of see some of the wires. I did a little zip tie. You can see the colors for the RGB wires that run over to the passenger side there as well. And then everything just runs over to the passenger side, just like Tim's. I got the sicmods edition, mine are cooler. And you can see we also have a ground right here. This is coming from the projectors as well. I just removed this fender bolt. I cleaned up a little bit of paint off the metal and I grounded it right there. Now, one thing I did differently than Tim is I actually chose to leave the yellow wires unconnected to my blinkers. If I had a bumper that didn't have blinkers, then that would be clutch, because then I would have a blinker right in the headlight itself. Some people rewire the blinkers to the corner marker light here, and that's a good option. But what I found is when I hooked that up and I turned on the blinkers, the blinker in the bumper and the halo switching to the orange and blinking didn't synchronize. They were in a different order. So one would blink at one rate, and this would have to go all the way around and then restart. And that just didn't work out for me. So I disconnected that essentially. So with my setup, I'm not using the yellow wires from the RGB controller to control the blinker function in the headlight. I basically disabled that. So when I turn on my blinkers, only the blinker in the bumper turns on, and the headlights are not affected by that feature. And as you can see here, my corner marker light is black, just like the headlight itself, but this is not paint. This is actually the chrome removed from the inside of that marker light. And there's a cool way to do this. For those that don't know, you can use purple power to remove chrome. And since I didn't want to open up this light and potentially break some plastic and ruin this corner light, I put some purple power in there, switched it around, rinsed it out, kind of kept it in a bucket for a period of time so the purple power could do its work on the chrome and pretty much eat it away, leaving you with basically black, because that is the color of the plastic before Toyota added the chrome and then attached this plexiglass or plastic outside to seal the light itself. The headlights on a 4Runner are traditionally glass in the United States, and it was interesting to learn that some of my hillock surf buddies in places like New Zealand, they actually are plastic, so they don't get a nice glass lens. So this is what my setup looks like with the blacked out corner marker, and it really just kind of completes the look. It looks off when you leave that chrome. So TEQ Customs sells these, but you could black out your existing OEM one, or you could get the aftermarket option like shown here on Tim's rig. So that's my setup. Now let's aim these.
All right, now we're gonna show you how to adjust the headlights. We're at a shopping area and we're at the back of the shops where there's like dumpsters and other stuff. Anyways, we chose to do the adjustment here rather than at one of our houses because both of us have sloped driveways and we need to get 25 feet back to direct it at a wall to make the adjustment, and neither of our houses would accommodate that. So anyways, this is a good place to do it. You're out of the way in the back of a shopping mall, and hopefully nobody's gonna interrupt you while you're adjusting your headlights like some rent-a-cop trying to do his job. Whoop, whoop. All right, so we've got a tape measure on the ground and we've measured off 25 feet. So 25 feet from the wall of the Pure Water store and right to the front of my truck. So now that we have the truck at the proper distance from the building, we're gonna take our tape measure and measure from the ground and figure out the measurement from the ground to the center of the headlight. And then we're gonna take that measurement and use it to make a mark on the wall with some tape. What we learned from TEQ Customs is they said that with a lifted vehicle like I have, you'd want the concentration of the headlight to be a few inches lower than that value you just got measuring from the ground to the center of the headlight. So we're gonna get that measurement, subtract 2 to 3 inches, and then go to the wall, measure from the ground, and then we're gonna put a piece of tape so we know where that mark is. So we got a measurement of 38.5 inches from the ground to the center of the headlight. And based off what TEQ Customs suggested, they suggest dropping it by 2 or 3 inches at the mark you put on your wall 25 feet away. We did the math and that is 36.5 inches. But we also have this curb here that is 3.5 inches tall. So what we did is we took a measurement from this sidewalk 33 inches up and we put the top of the tape right at that line. This blue tape line is technically 2 inches below the 38.5 inches that we measured from the ground to the center of the headlight. So now that we have our tape line on the wall, I'm gonna start the rig up, I'm gonna turn on the headlights, and we're gonna show you how to do the adjustment. For the adjustment of these headlights, it was recommended to me by TEQ Customs that you usually don't have to worry about the left and right adjustment. It's mostly the vertical. And the vertical adjusters are down low. So we're on the passenger side right now, and I'll move my wrench over to where you can see it. And it's that plastic sucker right there. It's a 10 millimeter. And I learned also from TEQ Customs, you could come in with a long Phillips screwdriver, come in through this slot right here. We'll get a close-up of what I'm talking about. You direct a really long Phillips screwdriver, and you could actually adjust it that way too. I currently don't have a long enough screwdriver to get down in there, so I'm going to do the adjustment with the flex head 10 millimeter ratcheting box end wrench. On the passenger side, the adjuster isn't that hard to get to, but on the driver's side, with the reservoir and the battery in the way, it's a little bit harder to get in there with the 10 millimeter wrench, but you can do it. I've done it. So I'm going to start the engine and I'm going to turn the headlights on. To adjust the headlight, if you want to bring the beam up, you want to loosen the nut. And if you want to bring the beam down, you have to tighten the nut. So what I'm doing with my 10 millimeter box end wrench is I'm loosening the nut to bring the beam up. Look how much. I adjusted the passenger headlight, and you can see where the cutoff is. It's right in line with the top of the tape. Now I need to adjust the driver's side and bring that one up. After we got done adjusting both to the top of the tape, it did look a little bit high to us, so we decided to drop it like another inch, and we're gonna leave it there, and then I'm just gonna see how well it works. If I have a bunch of people flashing their high beams at me, that means my headlights are probably too high and I'm blinding people. So this is where I'm gonna leave it right now. So you can see the custom etching I have, my little Tim logo that Sean came up with.
Oh, so cute.
So cute. Oh, pretty cool. And then now we're gonna show you how to work the RGB controller. So remember, in my install, I wired the RGB controller to my aux beam switch panel, and I wired it up to the number 4 slot, which is this one right here. I don't have a sticker for it right now. So I'll turn that on, and then now my RGB color should be lit up on the headlights. On the RGB controller module, you'll have a QR code that you could scan with your phone, and then you could download the app. And the app is called Magic Lantern. So I'm gonna open that up. So with this app, you need to connect to the controller. So you push this area right up here with the 3 white lines, and then it'll say My Devices, and you can't really read it because of the color of the text, but this little link right here that's connected, if it wasn't connected, it would show it broken. So I'm currently connected based off of that symbol, this chain link not being broken. And so now I can manually change the colors to anything I want. So let's show that. And then I could use this wheel to change it to any color, but I also have some presets down here. So there's green, I could change it to red, this light blue, this darker blue, these yellow ones. So there's all these presets. But if I go back to the dial, I can do kind of an infinite rainbow of colors. So it's pretty cool. So that's a quick basic thing about this app. There's other things you can do that I have no idea. Like you could match the colors to music or something? I don't know. Is that what it does?
Yeah, dude, we're gonna have a party with your lights, bro.
You could have like a total techno party with everybody doing ecstasy and just getting crazy.
Nice.
Okay, so anyways, I haven't really messed around with this, but I've only really used it to adjust the color with this wheel or using the presets.
So what's your favorite color? So what's your favorite color, Tim?
I like hot pink.
Hot pink. Okay, let's set it. Set it to hot pink.
Hot pink. Let's see. It's kind of pink, yeah.
It's kind of. Yeah, that's pretty cool, I guess.
One limitation of the RGB controller that I found out is inside the cab, if you try to connect up to the RGB controller with your phone app, it's most likely not going to work because there's just enough interference with the metal between you and the controller that you won't be able to get a connection. You won't be able to adjust it. So you really have to be outside the rig and adjust it to the color you want, and then that's the color you're going to be stuck with until you get out of the rig again and readjust it. So it's not really something you could do on the fly from what I've seen from the app. You just can't get connectivity with the controller through the vehicle while you're sitting in the driver's seat. It just doesn't work.
That's because you have an Android. If you have an iPhone, it works.
Does iPhone works?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a vote. That's one vote for iPhone. Okay.
Pretty sick.
So now we're going to do a comparison between stock headlights on a 98 4Runner and the TEQ Customs projector retrofits on my 98 4Runner. And let's see the difference. So we'll first turn on the headlights on Sean's stock 98 4Runner. Here's what the stock headlights look like, and here's what the projector headlights look like. Much, much brighter. Okay, now turn them off. That is pretty dramatic, huh? So I'm going to turn on the left blinker. And what you noticed is that originally the color of the RGB was like a purplish color, but it turned yellow, the same color as the turn signal. So that's pretty cool. All right, we are all done with this job of installing some really sweet projector retrofit headlights from TEQ Customs. So as you saw, it's not that hard of an install. You have to do a little bit of wiring, but it's not really that difficult because you now have this tutorial to follow. And TEQ Customs also has their own tutorial that they've made. So between the two, you should be able to do this no problem. With these projector retrofits, I think one of the main benefits of them gets a little bit lost in all the fancy colors and halos and all the cool stuff is the light output is just exceptional. When you compare it to stock headlights, it's no comparison. The light output of these projector headlights is crazy good. And so it's just going to be much better for you when you're driving down the road or driving down the trail. You could just see much better where you're driving. And so it's basically a safety factor. But yeah, the RGB controller with the halos and everything and the bling, yeah, it's pretty darn cool. But I believe the main benefit of this mod is the increased light output. And you saw that from the comparison we did. It's just no comparison. So from the installation of the headlights and looking how well they are built and using them for several weeks now and seeing how well they function, we're pretty stoked on the quality of the projector retrofits that TEQ Customs makes. If you are in the market for some custom retrofits, then we highly suggest you check out TEQ Customs. The company is run by some very good people. I've met them in person, and I could vouch for their integrity and their honesty, and they will do you right. So if you are in the market for some headlights, check them out. If you are in the Raleigh, North Carolina area and you need some work done on your Toyota or Lexus SUV or truck, they have a shop with full-time mechanics, and maybe they can help you out with some of the things you want to do to your truck or SUV, like a sicmod. So in closing, we want to give thanks to Hunter, the owner of TEQ Customs, and Miles, who manages the operation. They're really cool guys. It was enjoyable to work with them on this project, and we hope to work with them on future projects. With all that said, we thank you for watching Toy at a Time with Timmy the Toolman and Sean. We will, of course, be back with more videos. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed yet, click that subscribe button and also click on the notification bell if you would like to be notified when we put up new content on our channel. Peace out, happy wrenching, sick mods, and sick retrofit projector headlights from TEQ Customs.